everything was pointing to a very tight labor market. ADP with private sector job growth totaling 235,000, a big drop in layoffs in the month of December compared to November. A 43% decline reported by Challenger. And then on top of that, first-time jobless claims below forecast last week. So this sets us up for tomorrow's December employment report. Today, yields rising right across the curve, particularly at the short end with the 2-year jumping 10 basis points to 445. That created weakness in the equity market. The S&P down 1.2%, but boy, we have a stronger dollar today with the Bloomberg dollar spot reaching a 2-week high with a gain of around 0.6%. A weaker yen as we get set for trading in Japan. We're 133.30 or thereabouts. And the offshore Chinese yuan extended gains for a third straight day, right now trading 688.95. We'll take another look at markets for you in about 15 minutes. Let's check on global news next. Ed Baxter is in the Bloomberg newsroom in San Francisco. Ed?
All right, thank you, Douglas. I have one for you here. The 11th, we're going to the 11th vote now for Speaker of the House. Kevin McCarthy suffered defeat on the 10 previous, and Congressman Matt Gaetz has just put Donald Trump's name in nomination for Speaker on the 11th. So it's going to show up on all of our screens that Donald Trump has been elected. Donald Trump has been nominated to be Speaker. United States has a guided missile destroyer, Chung-hoon, sailed through the Taiwan Straits as part of what it calls routine activity. Germany, Sweden, Belgium imposing new COVID testing requirements on passengers traveling from China. The border between mainland China and Hong Kong will gradually reopen beginning Sunday in hopes of restoring some of the economic and social ties. The World Health Organization says global COVID cases rose 25% in the month of December. It says the number of fatalities is in the same period is about up 21%. Russian President Vladimir Putin says he's willing to grant a 2-day ceasefire over its Orthodox Christmas. Ukraine says no. U.S. President Biden says it's hypocrisy, and Putin is just trying to get oxygen. All right, I'm Ed Baxter in San Francisco, and this is Bloomberg. Let's check now with Dan Schwartzman on sports. Danny, I'm going to put your name in nomination for Speaker of the House of Representatives. Can I do that? Would you accept that?
I probably have a better chance at this point of winning than going to an 11th vote, I guess, right?
Yeah, through on the 11th vote. Now, Donald Trump just got nominated. Anyway, let's get to the real thing. What's going on?
Let's start out Manchester City here. They have cut table setter Arsenal's lead atop the Premier League table to 5 points with a 1-0 win over Chelsea at Stamford Bridge as Riyad Mahrez scores the lone goal in the 63rd minute. With the loss, the Blues remaining in 10th place in the league table, 19 points behind the Gunners through 17 matches. Chelsea also suffering injuries as both Christian Pulisic and Raheem Sterling forced off early in the match. British tennis star Emma Raducanu forced to retire from a round of 16 match of ASD Classic in New Zealand after suffering an ankle injury. The 2021 U.S. Open winner is in jeopardy of missing the Australian Open with the year's first Grand Slam event beginning in Melbourne, shedding just 11 days. Last year, Raducanu's season ended in October due to a wrist injury. Baltimore Ravens offensive coordinator Greg Roman says he isn't counting out quarterback Lamar Jackson for the playoffs, which begin in a little over a week, as a former league MVP has been out for over a month with a sprained knee. Without Jackson, the Ravens offense averaging just 12.3 points per game. I'm Dan Schwartzman. That's your Bloomberg World Sports Update. Back to you.
All right, thanks very much. 16 minutes here before the top of the hour. You know, we always get these preliminary numbers from Samsung before the finals, and they have the operating profit in there. And this was a pretty sizable miss for Samsung in the fourth quarter. Operating profit 4.3 trillion won. The estimate was 6.65 trillion. And Samsung saying it was chip demand that significantly fell on its inventory adjustment. So we'll get you further details on those earnings. Right now we're joined by Stephen Blitz, Chief U.S. Economist at T.S. Lombard, to preview the jobs report tomorrow. I know you can run through the numbers for us, Stephen, but is it possible that we've seen a structural change in the economy and that because of the past couple of years that companies have had a tough time finding the right workers, that they don't want to get rid of them now, and they will hold on to them and find other ways to cut costs, and that could distort the overall picture for the Fed?
Yes. That's a short answer, although I was hoping you'd nominate me for Speaker of the House.
Yeah. Okay, we'll throw your hat in the ring.
Yeah, why not? But I think that, yes. And first of all, look, firms they first hire less before they lay off more. If you look at the pattern on unemployment claims, they tend to rise later after the official start of recession because firms really, the first thing they do is they hire less and they cut hours, and the last thing they do is actually lay people off. And that's going to be especially true in this cycle exactly because of the reasons you said. However, that's more likely to be true in manufacturing and that kind of mid-skill work than it's going to be in business and professional services, where we're already seeing a lot of announced layoffs, since we're seeing Google and other places, and also the hire rate is now below where it was in 2018. So, and profits in the fourth quarter, and interestingly brought up the Samsung story, is that the profits are going to be weak, are going to disappoint in Q4 based on the tax receipts for the federal government in December.
Well, given the stickiness of the job market here, Stephen, I mean, is it possible that the Federal Reserve actually really over-tightens and becomes over-restrictive?
No, because they're not over-restrictive now. So for them to be over-restrictive, you need the nominal economy to really slow down and on its own. And it's not really, at 3% growth and say 3% inflation, just to pin a low number on it, you're talking about 6% nominal growth with 4.5% cost of money. That's still not restrictive. So for the Fed to suddenly become restrictive, which is kind of what the doves on the Fed are really anticipating, you really need exactly what you're talking about, which is they stop hiking, or they hike much more slowly, and the economy slows underneath that, and it suddenly turns a negative real rate into an increasingly positive real rate, and then they'll cut.
Well, how about this as a parallel story, that what this might mean, the stickiness of labor, pardon me, is that you never get to that really bad recession because you have still so many people continuing to work. As inflation comes down slowly, like it has been, or at least the pace has been slowing, that you maybe just get a very light recession as a result of all those people still working and still spending.
Yeah, and that's my anticipation, right? So I'm not thinking about any kind of recession like 2008, 2009, maybe something more like 1990, 91, or 2001. I mean, I hate to talk in the terms because you're the one that loses your job. It's a depression, right? So I want to be aware of not insensitive to the human aspect of that. But to your point, yeah, and the problem then is the flip, which is that the Fed cuts, and then they're chasing again later in the year because you don't get that much of a recession. So inflation comes down, but remember their target is 2%. So sure, it comes down from 6, 5, 4, but now you're trading in a 3 to 4% inflation world. You're still 100 to 200 basis points above the Fed target. They're going to chase.
Stephen, we got to go, but love your saucy comments, saucy style. Love to have a beer sometime. I'm in Hong Kong, you're in New York. Rich is here. Anyway, we'll see you next time on the radio. Stephen Blitz, Chief U.S. Economist at T.S. Lombard. 3 minutes before the top of the hour. This is Bloomberg.
Come over Bloomberg Daybreak Asia, 10 minutes to the top of the hour, and that is when Tokyo enters the fray, looking at perhaps a downbeat start to the equity session as we follow Wall Street lower across Asia.
Now, your 3-day weather forecast on Bloomberg 1130.
It'll be partly to mostly cloudy around the city for tonight, along with a slight chance of showers, low temperatures, low 40s by early Friday morning. For Friday, some partial sun around, high temperature 45 to 50, showers to the north. The night fair weather than 35, sun and clouds about 45 on Saturday, and partly sunny cooler on Sunday, temperatures up to about 40. This is Gary Best with your weekend weather forecast on Bloomberg 1130.
Global market news changes in an instant, so don't miss a minute. Listen to Bloomberg 1130 anytime, anywhere around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Tune in, the Bloomberg Business app, and Bloomberg.com.
If you have certain chronic conditions, such as heart disease, asthma, diabetes, and you're 19 years of age or older, 52,
36.
42, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effects were pain at the injection site. Common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com. I'm going to ask my doctor
About getting vaccinated.
with Prevnar 20.
The year-end tax season is here, and you've thought about a donor-advised fund to make giving easier. But the process of opening a DAF can be daunting, with many obstacles, account minimums, and hidden fees. Enter the Donors Fund, a modern, innovative donor-advised fund that eliminates the barriers between the giver and giving. With the Donors Fund, you can open your free giving account in minutes and instantly qualify for a tax deduction. You can then distribute the funds to more than 1.4 million charitable organizations at any time. All of your transactions can be completed online with no account minimums, no transaction fees, and no hidden fees. Just simple, free giving. Open your free account today at thedonorsfund.org or collaborate with your financial team. You can also seamlessly transfer over from your existing DAF. The Donors Fund, a modern, innovative donor-advised fund for everyone. Visit thedonorsfund.org today and set your giving free.
Bloomberg Radio, on demand and in your podcast feed.
On the latest edition of the Bloomberg Surveillance Podcast, a conversation with Seth Carpenter, Global Chief Economist, Morgan Stanley, on tomorrow's jobs report.
What we're thinking is going to happen, this is consistent with the anecdotes from the minutes, is that businesses will try to hoard labor. And so what we're likely to see is slower and slower and slower non-farm payrolls. We'll get tomorrow's data, obviously, where we're looking for about 185,000. But we're looking for a slowing down in hiring. We're not looking for a wave of layoffs. And taking out that territory is going to be, is where we've been.
We've alluded to the 70s. You're too young to remember the embarrassing lapels Michael McKee and I wore years ago. What actually happens to our economy, frankly the global economy, if we get a Neil Kashkari 5.4%, a Bullard 6.7 whatever percent? Do we all fall apart and die? I mean, we move forward, right?
I mean, I do think we move forward, but, we are looking for a soft-ish landing, if I can steal that phrase from Chair Powell. I do believe that the committee right now is feeling their way. They are close to being as restrictive as they need to be. It'll be up to the next several data points to figure out exactly when they call it quits on hiking. But then it's going to be a question for them how long to stay restrictive like that. And I think that's the part that the market really needs to internalize, is that the Fed is not trying to trash the economy now to bring inflation down next year. They're trying to slow the economy down over a multi-year process, and that really is going to be the difference, I think, between now and the 70s.
Get more of this and other conversations on the latest Bloomberg Surveillance Podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Plus, listen anytime on the Bloomberg Business app and Bloomberg.com. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at Bloomberg Quick Take. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
So tomorrow morning in the U.S., we'll get the December jobs report, 8:30 a.m. Wall Street time. If you look at today's readings measuring activity in the labor market, everything we're looking at argues for higher interest rates, whether it's the ADP number on private sector job growth, whether you're looking at the Challenger data on layoffs, or first-time jobless claims. Everything argues for higher interest rates. So we had yields moving up across the curve today, especially at the short end. The 2-year was up 10 basis points to 4.45. A stronger dollar with the Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index rising 0.6%. And we are now at a 2-week high. We've got a weekly line, 133.30 or thereabouts. And as we get set for trading in Tokyo, Japan Inc., with real cash earnings dropping in the month of November by 3.8%. That's year over year, and it's more severe than forecast. Samsung reported preliminary Q4 operating profit well below expectations at 4.3 trillion won. We'll also have trading in South Korean equities at the top of the hour. Stateside, we were down in the equity market with the Dow losing 1%. The S&P fell 1.2%. NASDAQ comp lowered by 1.5%. However, those Chinese ADRs moved higher with the NASDAQ Golden Dragon China Index up about 1.6% today. Early going in Sydney is positive with the ASX 200 ahead 0.3%. We'll take another look at markets on the other side of the top of the hour. We're right now back to Brian for an update on the media. Hey, Brian.
All right. Thanks very much, Doug. Yeah, looking at the media, Dow Jones has one here. Beijing striking back at the WHO and its suggestion that China has underrepresented the severity of its COVID-19 outbreak. China's foreign ministry said the UN agency should take a more science-based approach. From the China Daily, this is a story here about how U.S.-Brazil relations should improve. Well, with the swearing in of Luis Inácio Lula da Silva for the third time, this story says that, well, it highlights congratulations coming from Chinese President Xi Jinping, and says that Beijing, that bilateral ties between Beijing and Sao Paulo should move forward now, and that economic relations will get better as well. And I only put this in from the China Daily. It's the type of story that they often run, even on the front page, if President Xi does or says something. But it's in the context of Brazil's corn exports to China are rising very fast here at the moment, taking a mounting toll on U.S. shipments and also depressing prices on the Chicago Exchange. And a final note, back to the to Dow Jones and the Wall Street Journal, Vince McMahon plans to return to World Wrestling Entertainment following his retirement last year. He had stepped aside amid a sexual harassment scandal. McMahon is the majority owner and former chief executive of World Wrestling Entertainment. All right, it's 2 minutes before the top of the hour. That is a look at the media. Rashad.
All right, well, we've got, how many was it again, Brian, a day? But, in terms of how many people can cross from Hong Kong approach
Hong Kong, China, 60,000. Yeah, 60,000.
To give you an idea of how much the traffic was during 2021, it was around about 3,000 people a day crossing that border compared to pre-pandemic levels of about 600,000.
Yeah. So the question is this a disappointing number?
Well, that is it. And these are just land. Most of these will be 50,000, about 60,000 are land border travelers, if you will, here as well. So at least John Lee, the chief executive, says that we're nearly there, I think, is what his commentary was in regards to this.
Well, it's probably seen by some as prudent, given the outbreaks in China of COVID at the moment. So let it start slowly. Meantime, for travelers going both ways, you'll need to have a PCE test within 48 hours. So that does limit things a little. But I think we'll see and feel them, don't you?
Yeah. The thing is how many people will actually